Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Tax. I'm your host, Tim LeMasters, and today we're diving into the most misunderstood yet most valuable opportunities for CPAs advising growing businesses. When your clients are expanding, relocating, or investing in new facilities, the clock starts ticking long before the first shovel hits the ground. Incentives and credits can make a real difference, but only if you know when to raise the flag. Joining me today is Ben Worrell, shareholder of McGuire Sponsel's LAS practice. Ben works directly with CPA firms and business leaders across the country to align growth strategy, incentives, and compliance, helping clients capture value while keeping advisors in control. Ben, welcome.
Thanks, Tim.
I think we can say happy holidays, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably that time of year. So
I'm good with it.
I went with the colors anyways. So, look, I'm really excited to talk about this today because I've obviously been on the road for the last, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks, having some serious conversations about client growth, what that looks like. There's always a struggle, though, and it's a big struggle, and I think it's something we've got to kind of nip in the bud right now. Timing.
It's the biggest factor.
It's the biggest factor.
Yep.
And I just had a call yesterday. I'm not kidding you. And I don't even want to talk too in depth about it because in case the CPA listens to it, he's going to be like, Tim, why'd you call me on your podcast? But literally they're growing, and I think they broke ground. I want to say it was almost a 150,000 square foot manufacturing facility.
Okay, so we're probably talking in that $15-20 million in investment.
Correct. In Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Not only are they doing that, but they're pulling stuff from other countries, mostly China, to make sure the product is here developed in the U.S.
Sure. Reshoring, avoiding the tariffs, all that
Correct.
stuff. Yeah.
So let's just talk about that little thing there.
Sure.
What's the opportunity there?
I mean, the opportunity, usually when we estimate value for incentives, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are asking, okay, Ben, this is great to go into the technicalities, but what's the value? What's it worth to my clients? We usually estimate between 5 and 10% of that investment value and $3,000 to $5,000 per net new job that's being created. So that puts some numbers out there.
44, by the way.
44 net new jobs. Okay. I don't do mental math too well, but I think we're knocking on at least $500,000 worth of value, just talking about, let's call it a $15 million investment in a brand new building coming up and out of the ground. So 10% of that, 5% of that, you're at $1 million already in value.
Yeah, and I think that the part of it is just like these things happen, and you get clients, they're gunslingers, and it's like, you know what, time to go. I'm gonna invest, and it's gonna happen. I think sometimes go and talk to the state and local municipalities by themselves and have these conversations, and there's some low hanging fruit there.
Yeah,
and it looks nice. But I think the overall value falls in the discretionary side of benefits.
It absolutely does. But at the same time, as we're talking with our partners in the CPA industry that's out there, we run around this joke of being like, okay, CPAs are the last to find out about anything that goes on. But the question is why? Why is that? What can we be doing? At the time of recording here, we're in the middle of Q4, and that's really that 90-day window as we're planning for strategic end-of-year planning stuff. Now is that time because a lot of those clients were planning for this groundbreaking, this example that you just raised here. That client was probably thinking about it as of Q4 of this time last year to be able to say, okay, we know we want to do this, but we got to go through our due diligence process. We got to find the land. We got to find the contractor. We got to get budgets put together. But once they do, and then they start talking with banks, and banks saying, yep, you've got the financing to do this, they're going to start pulling that trigger. I mean, all of that time frame probably happened throughout the course of 2025.
Yeah.
They probably started talking about this back in maybe 2024 after the election. Again, okay, we understand tariffs are going to be a thing here. What do we need to be doing with all this stuff? So now is that time to start talking with your clients about what's happening in 26, even if it's just hey, what's the best case scenario? I was talking with one of our other relationship managers just here today, and we were just kind of talking shop, that kind of stuff. And I was saying, well, like, what is it? How do we get connected? Like for a CPA, when they're talking to a prospective client, it's kind of like that early romance relationship, right? You're starting to date, you're really putting on your best show, you're getting out there, you're talking with folks, but then once we land that client, what happens at that point? Why don't we continue to treat those clients, our clients that we have in the book, as if they were a prospective client? Why aren't we still going back and asking them, well, what could you be planning? What's that strategic tax plan? And I get it. You get busy, tax work comes in, the deadlines happen, delays happen.
They're running thin.
Yeah. Again, you're hoping to take some time off to be able to, be a person, that kind of stuff too. But this time, Q4 is really when you can be going back to your current clients because you're already doing that. You're doing end-of-year tax planning. now's the time to be asking those questions. What could be happening in 26 for you?
Yeah, and I think we always talk about it's never too early.
That's right.
And I really get in these conversations with a lot of my good, close relationships, and they're just like, Tim, I don't want to bug you. And it's like, well, no, I want you to bug me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think $1 million is worth it.
Yeah, like, please bug me. And
Yeah.
so I truly believe that there's these conversations that happen, but it's one of those things where the client is probably saying, I might do this.
Mm-hmm.
If that is happening, I might do this, let's just have a conversation anyways.
Absolutely.
Because I might do this turns into, oh, I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're at this point where it's just like, golly, man, think of that type of investment. I mean, we just missed out on $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it really gets sour. And I got some pretty competitive CPAs that I work with, man. And so when this stuff happens, they're just like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. Leverage is gone.
And that's where we like to say it's never too early. It is too late with the incentive conversation in particular. Because if you break ground, if you pull permits, if you have those conversations, you make that public announcement, you've lost all your leverage at that point.
Talk about the cycle of the monthly meetings. I mean, most of those are every month.
Yep.
Once a month, right? So we have to be in one of those meetings prior to anything happening, because once they find out, you're done.
You're talking at the local level. So those authorities that get to make that ultimate decision, do you get incentives, yes or no? That's usually going to be a town council. It's going to be a city county commissioner, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
We've got to be in front of those meetings, and there's a whole lot of prep before that. You've got an application process you got to work your way through. Usually there's another evaluating group. Usually it's an economic development group of some sort. And to navigate through all that process, that's where a lot of people kind of shy away from this incentive things, because like everyone kind of goes behind this door, this curtain, and they come out and all of a sudden there's a deal. No, there's a very strategic process that has to happen. And because we're dealing with government entities, it's usually a very bureaucratic process that you got to go through. And if you don't, there's no chance for you to be able to get that. It's not just hey, I know the mayor and they're just going to be able to offer this. It's just not how it works.
Yeah. I mean, there's some that obviously are tied in pretty tight with some of the local economic development groups, but you're right. I mean, it is a check the box. You're going to get this amount of money. Thank you for coming. And most companies are going to look at that and say, all right, we're making this investment.
Better than nothing.
This is better than nothing.
Yeah.
To whereas really you can go in and figure out, okay, based on what we're doing, there's programs in here that most clients won't know about, but you and your team do. So based on what you're doing, we're going to get rid of this program because over here is where the meat and potatoes are. Yeah.
And as a former economic developer myself, again, having sat on that side of the table, I also knew that, hey, if a client wasn't really asking, we didn't necessarily have to offer that either.
Yeah.
If they were going to say, hey, we're doing this project, then great. Let's see how we can support you. Sans the actual monetary investment, the incentives that are offered out there. Because if no one's asking, we don't have to be able to offer that.
In that situation, if you had to guess, what would be the average amount of money that's left on the table when you do it that way?
I'm going to say it's 20% of what it could have been. Because again, something's better than nothing that's out there.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying that as a generalization that all economic developers are trying to cut that short, but in the vast majority of cases, again, if you don't ask for it, that number can be zero at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you do ask for it, then it's okay. What's the minimum investment that we have to do to try and win this project? And again, something's better than nothing. But if you don't know what that scope could be, then there's absolutely no reason why the local authority, the authorizing body, has to offer anything.
Well, there's a reason the local authorities in some states have BD people that are going out trying to find companies and saying, hey, you're going to grow. Let us give you some of this money for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not just trying to throw money out there. They're trying to keep the deals lower.
And it's also just they don't have to involve other things. They're trying to stay in front of companies so that if a company is saying, well, gosh, if we don't get it here, then we might look at something else outside the state.
Sure.
They want to proactively get out there and say, look what we've done. We've come to the table with stuff. You're exactly right.
Yeah. What states are throwing? I mean, I don't want to get off course here, but what states are throwing the most at this right now? Just give me the top 5.
We'll say Midwest and Sunbelt states.
Okay.
Those are we've seen just a massive migration of people going to those areas. So your workforce is setting up in a lot of the southern states, Sunbelt states, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, those kinds of. The Carolinas have been a big one. It's interesting because a lot of the data that you look at is actually about 12 months behind. So we're working with 2024 data to understand what the rankings are here in 2025. Well, we also know that a lot of those states had governor changes in 24 and then set up new shops. Our state here that we're broadcasting out of here today, Indiana, had a big governor change, and there's been a lot of components that have changed from that, just the economic development strategy level. Some of it has been misplaced, some of it's been just not communicated well, and so there's been a lot of uncertainty as to where Indiana's going to go in the future with some of this stuff. It doesn't mean that they're not going to offer incentives. It just means there's a lot of uncertainty around how that gets implemented in the future. What is their target area? Is it going to be on entrepreneurs and small business? Okay, well, what are the tools in the toolbox to help it support those? We don't know what that is right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, again, to your point about what states are doing that really well, Midwest has always been strong against it. It's just got a strong manufacturing backbone.
It's a Rust Belt, baby.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And but we continue to see that turnover. So those things that were Rust Belt related are now becoming silicon related. It's a lot of chip stuff that's out there. It's a lot of auto manufacturers. It's not necessarily U.S. based auto manufacturers. It's foreign auto manufacturers that are coming in and setting up new shop. The tariff conversation is driving investment to happen inside the United States. It just is. I mean, the example that you just raised is exactly that.
Yep.
I was talking with one of our other relationship managers where they're saying, hey, we've got an opportunity. Client had a small sales and engineering shop that was set up here. Now they've got an opportunity to bring a manufacturing component from Switzerland into the state, and it's growth and expansion. It's probably another 30 to 40 jobs and about $5 million worth of investment. Again, that may not seem like a large investment, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the Googles. It doesn't have to be TSM that's putting $4 billion or something into it. It can be these everyday manufacturers that are out there. I don't know what scale that is from a CPA standpoint on, like, what's that revenue threshold for them? Is it a $25 million client? Is it a $100 million client? I don't know what that is, but because we're looking more so at the investment amount that's coming in. Is it north of $1 million? Yes or no?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter size. I mean, we have a lot of startup companies that are going to do a large expansion or investment at some point in time. Revenue's not very high, but their growth is going to be something that they could potentially look at and say, okay, well, we're going to add this many jobs. We're going to spend this much on equipment, so on and so on. I think that's where a lot of them miss out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always like, well, my $50 million manufacturing client is probably going to be a good opportunity. Nope. No, the $5 million could be a good opportunity.
It sure can be, but the $50 million one is too, because I guarantee you if they haven't gotten incentives so far, they've missed out on an opportunity.
For sure.
So how do we stay in front of that? Again, that gets back to this whole Q4 end-of-year planning, just that paradigm shift to be able to look at what has happened over this last year and now what could happen into the future. It's so important.
All right, so something that comes up often, and I want to make sure I can give a better answer to this, because sometimes I get a little confused if they can or if they can't. So you have some of these, like the one I talked to you about earlier. Well, I don't know if they negotiated the jobs. They may have just negotiated some sort of abatement or something like that. I'm not sure. But they got something. If they didn't negotiate the jobs, but they've already started on the investment and the local municipalities understand what the investment is, can we still look at jobs after the shovel goes in the ground or after they start?
Have you lost your leverage on other incentive
That's
options?
what I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the question is maybe. In most cases, probably yes, they have lost their leverage because the shovels have already gone in the ground. You're not just going to build a building and then keep it empty and be like, JK, we weren't actually doing anything with this now.
Yeah.
But there still may be an opportunity because, again, there's so many different layers. I get made fun of the onion layer example that I pull up, but it's important because if you've just negotiated something at the local level, but you haven't tapped into that state level yet, and you haven't made those key investments or the key hires yet, there's still an opportunity for us to have that further conversation. Absolutely.
Okay, that's good.
And,
I mean, the only thing I pivot to is like, well, you could do a utility sales tax exemption.
Yeah, and you can. So again,
it's like I don't have anything else for you.
But that's the strategic planning element to say, okay, well, if we missed out on that, shoot, can we do something better next time?
Yeah.
But what else can we help bring to the table? And again, that's just where McGuire Sponsel can bring so many different elements to the table alongside the CPA firm, respectful of that relationship that's there. But all the stuff we do is tax planning related.
Yeah.
And so how do we help strategize for that client, their best outcomes? Because I've only had one client that's come to me and said, we like paying our taxes. We think it's our civic duty. Pretty much everybody else is going to be saying, what else you got for me?
Exactly.
Because this is great. Let's go ahead and keep bringing other strategies to the table.
Yeah, I don't know what tax rate they're at if they like paying those taxes, because I know where I sit and I can't stand it.
That's right.
I think something that would be real good, and I know this is hard. Obviously, you weren't a CPA, and CPAs aren't in your mind. But if you were sitting in a CPA seat in Q4, tax planning with clients, what is the simplest way that you could drive home the message of making sure those opportunities aren't missed?
I think it's looking at the data that you have. Again, I'm still a data-driven guy, so if I'm looking at that and saying, gosh, it looks like you've made investments in equipment. It looks like we just learned that you built a building or you expanded your building. What are you going to do with that space, and what are the next steps from it? Are you looking to hire jobs? Are you looking to put equipment inside of that? So it's that paradigm shift, again, of saying we're looking at the data that we have, what has happened. Now can we just ask the next leading question and say what could happen in the future as a result of that project? And then hopefully that leads into other things. You were also mentioning beforehand, like, what if we've done just something, we got a small deal out of it? Well, that's maybe because that person may be looking just at a 12-month window. They may be needing to say, did we look out over 24 or 36 months into the future? Okay, they've missed out on that additional revenue opportunity. Maybe. If they've just isolated down for the next 12 months, okay, then what can we be doing to say, what does the next 24 to 36 months, and is that kind of a phase 2 that we can start talking about?
Yeah. No, that's great. I completely understand that. Now, let's do this too. So you talked about it if they already have done some things, if they have grown. Let's say they haven't grown. Mm-hmm. And let's say that they're not telling their CPA that we're going to grow. So what can I do as a CPA if you're sitting in their seat? What can I say at that point in time to trigger something in their minds, the client's mind? Hey, we need to have a conversation before I do anything else.
I think that's just that advisory mindset. That's getting back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier of like, hey, if you were courting this client as a prospective client, what are all the tools that you're bringing to the table here to try and say, hey, we're the group to help you win on this side, to have the best tax planning strategy that's out there. And so that just be bringing that, treat an existing client as if it were a prospective client, and what are you bringing to the table to try and court them again?
Yeah. Manufacturing, logistics, distribution,
headquarters, R&D.
I mean, anything research and development, we're focused on that. I mean, those are the things we need to be talking about in Q4.
And net new real estate investment. I mean, all those types of things. That's where it starts getting that little gray area because it's not retail related. It's not on the commercial
right. But if there's going to be a huge development project going on in your,
multifamily,
30,000, people town, and it's going to be a $1.2 billion investment or even a $20 million investment, typically that multi-use space is going to drive some sort of incentive.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned the multifamily there. It's because a lot of times these communities need to have people both living and working inside their community. It's a live, work, play is kind of the terminology that's put out there. Well, how do you have people living there? It's not particularly about single-family houses, but multifamily. That creates density, and you've got a lot of opportunities. You've got young folks that are moving into your community that hopefully then end up spinning off from that, buying their own house, having their family, and you get that plus effect that happens as a result of that. So, real estate developments that are out there on the multifamily side, anything, again, clients saying, I'm looking to grow and expand. Those are the key triggers.
Perfect. All right, Ben. So we've talked about a little bit of this kind of in a doom and gloom view. So let's get away from that because this has been a very, very successful practice for us.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, LAS is booming right now.
And 26 itself, just from a feel standpoint, I think there's going to be a lot of investment back into the U.S. here in 26 as things have kind of settled down from a new administration standpoint. We're really going to start to see a lot of that turn on.
I don't doubt it at all. I mean, we're already seeing it here. Yep. It seems like every other call I get on is somebody's like, hey, can you guys help us with some sort of expansion project that we're looking at? Those are great conversations. Maybe we talk about a couple projects that we've seen this year that you've worked with a couple of our really close CPA firms and supported them on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had one client that was looking to move locations. They'd identified a new building. The CPA had reached out to us saying, hey, we just heard that they've identified this building. They've put an LOI, a letter of intent, into this building. Are we too late? Is this even worth a call? And we said, yeah, absolutely it is, because we want to learn more about what is the investment into that building. Are they moving equipment? Are they buying new equipment? What's the new employees that are coming to it? Is it kind of just a move down the street so the employees are just going to be able to, their commute's only going to be 2 more minutes, or is it actually 30 more minutes, which may actually mean that they lose out on some employees, but they're going to be hiring net new employees.
Yeah.
What does the new equipment look like? Is it highly automated, or is it just legacy pieces of equipment? Is it a very manual process? Is it a very technical process? All those things have opportunities. We were able to dive into that. They had already signed that LOI on the building, but we were able to confirm the investment amount. So when they actually purchased that building, that qualified on the investment side. The new equipment that was coming in, that qualified on the investment side, and then the net new jobs that were coming to this area, because they could have picked up and moved to anywhere. They said, we've got an LOI on this building. We really like this building. We want to move to this building. but we're moving no matter what. So we could move anywhere else. Does that mean
Sure.
we're going into an adjacent state or another county? Absolutely, it could be. So we still had that leverage that we could play with. Ended up being about $140,000 in incentives for this client just because we were able to get involved from the CPA
Something
standpoint.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, man. That's great.
That moves the needle for clients. They look at that and they're
Absolutely.
like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, again, that leads to that next question of what else you got for me?
Yeah.
Because this was outstanding. And again, it aligned from a timing standpoint, because the other thing that we also get a little bit of pushback on is this going to slow down my process? I don't want to lose out on this particular building, this opportunity that's out here in front of me. So I can't get slowed down. Well, I know that when I hear that question, usually we're adding about 3 months to that conversation, because it usually, timing doesn't always go through as smoothly as everyone wants it to be from the outset.
Well, knowing that you can do an LOI and just say, hey, you know what? Just go ahead and throw your letter of intent out there. That's okay. And then let us start digging for you.
Well, but that's another thing that CPAs can be listening for. If you've got a client that says, hey, I just put in an LOI for this building, or I'm getting ready to put in an LOI for this building, they need to give us a call right away. We need to be having that conversation. We had another client that did the same thing. They identified a building. It was in the Chicagoland area. This was their second operation in Illinois. They had another location that was there already, but they were like, this really allows us to be able to enhance and grow this. And so again, we were just able to jump in, have that conversation. What does the net new jobs look like? What's your reach look like from this new location that you maybe didn't have from the previous location? What's the investment? Well, actually, we got to put a new roof on. We got to put some additional investment into the building. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were able to help negotiate that early enough on the process that in a state like the state of Illinois that takes a little bit longer time to get through all of that, we still were able to line up with what their time frame was. It's probably going to bring them over $500,000 worth of savings, both from the local side as well as from a state job creation program.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, great project. So, and there's more like that this year. So it's been a really cool year to see some of the growth that's going on here in the U.S. And obviously 2026, I think we got to buckle up, buddy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big growth year. So.
Absolutely.
All right, Ben, I got one question for you. If CPAs could do one thing with their manufacturing clients, their base that they already have, all right, so that good core manufacturing group, one thing they could do before the end of the year that's LAS focused.
I think it's identifying that list first and foremost. If you say, yeah, we've got a manufacturing group, or you've got a couple of partners that have some manufacturing clients that's out there, that data mining, I know we've helped do that for different clients that's out there. But if we can help identify exactly who that list is, you can do a lot of research at that point in time. I'm not saying the CPAs need to do that, but just by identifying that list of manufacturing clients that you have as inside your portfolio, could be a great starting point, just to be able to start asking some of those questions. These are the ones that we need to start prioritizing here. How do we reach out? What questions? What could they be doing in 2026? Those are the focus clients that they need to be looking at.
Yep. Well, Ben, I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Very obviously insightful as always. And I kind of look forward to seeing what the future holds for it.
Me too. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. The LAS team at McGuire Sponsel continues to be the standard in site selection, incentive procurement, compliance, and growth consulting. And as we enter the 2026 planning season, there's never been a better time for CPAs to start the conversation with their clients on future growth plans. If you'd like to connect with Ben or the location advisory team, feel free to reach out to Ben directly or visit us online at McGuiresponsel.com. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Tax. We'll see you next time.